you all for coming into this session today. It is Indigenous approach to mental wellness, creating access to care. And this is part of the section here at the conference for the Voices of Wellness and Native Health workforce. So if you didn't already read the description, and maybe it gave you a little bit of a tad bit about the workshop, this is actually for you. This workshop is about you checking in around your health and wellness, your mental health and wellness, and how this is a ripple effect into the work that you do, the folks that you serve, you as leaders, and the communities that we serve. Now, I heard earlier in the plenary session, there's a lot of conversation around how we're serving our communities, right? And this is what we do. We serve our communities. And also, how are we taking care of ourselves in the process? Okay, so that's a little bit of what we can expect of our time together today. A little bit more about me. Again, my name is Monique Castro, she, her pronouns. I am Danette and Chicana. My family on my Navajo side is from and around the Window Rock area. I was so grateful to be able to go to the Navajo Nation Fair this year, so I just traveled from going up to Window Rock area, went home to LA for a day, and then came back to Arizona the next day after. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm an auntie, I'm a sister, I'm the eldest of four sisters, and professionally, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm an executive leadership coach, and I'm also the CEO and founder of Indigenous Circle of Wellness, which is a psychotherapy practice located in Los Angeles. We have 4 locations throughout the Southern California region, and we are expanding. I have an awesome, incredible team. You got to meet Bridget. This is also a picture of our other team members. We just celebrated 8 years in business. And yeah, thank you. So I'm a first generation, all the things, first generation high school graduate, college graduate, grad school graduate, multi-business owner. This is one business of 2 that I own. And it's operated, by us in this incredible team. But I really am encouraging folks to arrive here, to connect with one another, to connect with yourself, to really place you right now at the center, and to tend to you. Okay, so if any of you maybe lunchtime are already talking about work and all the things you got to do, like, let's just let that go for this session. Okay, just bring your full attention and presence here. We're not going to need the paper right away or the pen. I just wanted to make sure you all had that ahead of time. And I will let you know when we'll be using it. Okay. So I invite you to arrive, enter ground. So take this time to settle in, to center yourself by connecting with your breath, clearing away any distractions that you might have, and just prepare yourself to be fully present with us today. You can close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you, or have a light gaze. If you notice any tension that you might be carrying in your body, just breathe into that. You can stretch, whatever you need to take care of yourself. So I want you to go ahead and just sit in your chair. I want you to take a deep inhale through your nose. Slow exhale. I want you to notice any tension that you might have. Maybe check in on your shoulders, your back. You all been sitting for a while, or will be sitting for a little longer. Just check in on your hips, your legs. We'll take another deep inhale. Slow exhale. Now I want you to think about an intention that you have for yourself and your wellness. Maybe one that you've already been engaging in, one that you're hoping to get to, whatever that might be. Keep that at top of mind. Take another deep inhale. And slow exhale. Now I want to give yourself gratitude. and love and appreciation for showing up here at this conference, here in this workshop. Give another deep inhale and slow exhale, and arrive back when you're ready. Okay. Thank you for participating in that with me. So as we get started, I wanted to go over Indigenous core values first. As an alumni ambassador of the American Indians for Opportunity, I was shared these core values in the program, and what it gave me was language to what I had already known what was true, right? Around the values, around the things that were taught to me as a child by my grandparents, by my family. And this is the importance of relationships, reciprocity, our responsibility, redistribution, and respect. Now, when I lead my company, my mental health program, and as I'm supporting other leaders across the country, this is always is what I'm grounded in these core values. How are my relationships? Are they healthy relationships? Are they good? Do they serve me? How am I being responsible to the folks who I'm in connection with, right? I have a big responsibility. In the schooling that I've done and the trainings that I have a responsibility to continue to show up and to share. My reciprocity, right? How am I engaging with folks? How am I allowing folks to also show up for me and me show up for them? It's that exchange. It's a redistribution of information and knowledge, that I'm not hoarding the information that I have and that I'm able to give it back. And the respect that I have for all of our relations, right? The different communities that we come from and the roles that we have. So as I lead and as I share this with you, this is something my team and I constantly we are reminded about. It's part of our core values of the company and what I really live by. And I always started off in this way. So I want us to do a check-in, and you're going to turn to your neighbor, either to your right or to your left. You're going to share your name. You're going to introduce yourself. You're going to share your name. I want you to share your roles, right? We have the roles, our professional hats, and we also have the many roles that we carry with us everywhere. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a mom, I'm an auntie, I'm a sister, right? Many of us sit on boards. We're on volunteering for our kids' programs, all the things, right? So I want you to share the various roles that you have. And I want you to also share, how do you know when you're not doing well? Okay, how do you know when you're not doing well? Now, this might show up in, I'm tired, or I get cranky, I have a shorter temper. When I'm not doing well, I tend to get headaches that turn into migraines. That's a signal like something's off. I had a headache and a migraine yesterday, but I think it was because of all the traveling that I was doing that I'm not used to doing as often. But there's a signal, something happened. So I want you to share this. So we're going to have about 4 minutes, so share 2 minutes each with your partner. Name, roles, and how do you know you're not doing well? Okay? So let's go ahead and break out into those pair shares. Okay, so what did you hear? What were some of the things that you heard from the person that you shared with, or what is something that you shared? When do you know you're not doing well? What was that? Big sigh. So the big sigh is like, and it's like, I just gotta rest, let it out. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad that you communicate that. How about for other? Yeah, not being able to shut it off. One more. Anyone else? How do you know you're not doing well? Stop socializing with family and community. Mm-hmm. And you had your hand raised? Shutting down. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So our body, our mind, the ways that it shows up or doesn't, or it says, I need a break, it's communicating a lot to us, right? And usually when we get to the point of where we are, the shut off point, it started a lot longer, like earlier on, right? It didn't start in that moment when you needed the release, the sigh. There was a buildup, right? There was a buildup that your body was starting to take on more, that your mind was taking on more. And there's a point where it's like, I just need a break, right? So our mind and our body are constantly letting us know and giving us signals ahead of time. We don't tend to listen very well. We push, push, push until it gets to the point where now we're sick, or now we're in bed, or now we're just like, I don't want to talk to anybody because I've been talking to everyone the last few months, right? So this is definitely a stress response. Our body has a signal that says, hey, I need a break, right? We know this, and yet so many of us just push right past it. Okay, so this is why we are here today, to talk more about this and how are you all taking care of yourselves, because as you're taking care of yourselves, it's rippling into the communities that we serve. Okay, so on average, a person spends about 90,000 hours of work over their lifetime at work. Okay, for many of us who are part of our communities, we don't shut it off when the clock ends, right? No, the work continues on. So it's like way higher than this. Some folks, they go to work, they have a 9 to 5, and that's it. I know for me, it doesn't ever truly end because my work is my community, it's my family. There's not really like a full shut off. However, I have a lot of boundaries. I have boundaries, I have parameters, I have a lot of ways in which I take care of myself because the role that I have as a therapist means that I'm showing up for others. I also have a team. I need to show up for my team, right? So essentially, we spend about a third of our life at work. That's a lot of time. So where we work needs to be good. Like, we need to love what we do. It needs to be a place that is going to be supportive of us. So the top 5 wellness challenges in the workplace are stress and burnout, work-life balance, mental health stigma and lack of access. So just like we talk about the access for the communities that we serve, our clients, the patients, whatever your role might be, there's stigma that still exists, and there's lack of access, right? How many of you know how to use your health resources to get the mental health or wellness access that you need? Raise your hand if you know, like, fully, and you use them. Actually, it's a good amount. Well, I'm happy because we're in a health conference, so I would hope so. And still we have folks that didn't raise their hand, and that's okay. But what I hear and know, and this is even in the mental health field, as therapists, we tend to not utilize the actual resources that we have, or we're not even sure where to go. We know how to give everyone else what they need, but we don't know how to do it for ourselves, or we're just not accessing it. Physical inactivity or too much chair time. Well, many of us have stagnant positions. We're sitting down a lot. Just a lot of sitting time. So the blood circulation, all that does impact our wellness. Pandemic, this was huge. A lot of folks stayed at home, and many of us probably still are in remote positions. So the physical inactivity, disconnection and isolation at work. So this also can be part of being at work and just feeling disconnected when you have folks around you, but you just don't want to be talking to anyone. And the other is that we might be working in like silos or in places where, like myself, I work from home. So I have to be very intentional about connecting with my team. I have to be, just create a community regularly so that I'm interacting with other adults, other humans, besides just the folks that live in my household, right? So these are the top 5 wellness challenges. And why these really stand out is because when folks end up in therapy, or when I'm working with executive leaders on their burnout, it really has to, these are all the things that come up. And it's not just one specific thing. It usually sounds like, oh, my boss just is asking so much of me and I just can't keep up and I'm so stressed out. But then we go deeper. How's your sleep? How's your eating habits? Oh, I don't even take lunch. Oh, okay, well, that's going to impact something, right? How about movement? Do you get out? Well, no, I'm working all day and I, got to pick up the kids and then I'm running around with them. Like, okay, well, that's, that might be some movement there, but overall, we're not seeing a lot of activity. So we are also having the challenges in our own wellness, and it shows in various ways. And I asked you all the question earlier, how do you know when you're not doing well? Because of this. There's something, it's all connected, but what I wanted to ask that question is because we're also doing a lot of things really well, and I want to also highlight that, but that's for a later part of the presentation. But when we think about our wellness, we need to think about the areas that we personally know we can, work better on. So what is the solution? Because there's solutions for everything, right? Healing and wellness. But what are the difference between the two? So healing is the process of making or becoming sound or healthy again. So let's take a wound, right? We have like maybe I fell, got a cut on my arm. That wound has to heal, right? In order for that wound to heal, I might have to take care of it a certain kind of way. One, I need to make sure that maybe I need to put a bandage over it. Maybe I need to air it out a bit. I need to keep it clean. That's how that wound is going to heal. Now, so that it could be healthy again. Once the wound is healed, then we go into the next phase of the wellness piece. We want to keep that wound. We don't want to hurt it again. I don't want to fall off. I'm going to say a bike. I fell off a bike and I got a wound. I'm going to be more mindful, right? So now when we think of wellness, according to the Global Wellness Institute, wellness is the active pursuit of activities, choices, and lifestyles that lead to a state of holistic health. Okay, so I just want to kind of tie back a bit. The healing is the process of getting to the place of being healed, and the wellness is how we sustain that healing. Okay, we hear them interchangeably, and they are connected, but they're also different. Any questions about that, about the healing and the wellness side of things? Okay. Holistic wellness is rooted in Indigenous knowledges. So let's go back to what the Global Wellness Institute said. We already know this because we're Native people, Indigenous people who already know that holistic wellness is essential, right? So I share with you here the medicine wheel and just the connection there. I'm not going to go too far into each of the quadrants. I'm going to pull here and go a little deeper into the medicine wheel, specifically on the wellness quadrants, okay? So we have here the 4 wellness quadrants. We have the spiritual, which is the connection, physical, which is movement. I'm also going to say stillness because some of us actually need to relax and rest and actually stop moving around so much. The mental, which is the thinking, and then emotional, which is the feeling. Okay, they're all interconnected. And when one is not tended to, it's going to impact the other. And I will say in different parts of our seasons of our life, seasons of the year, we're going to be spending more time in one or more of these quadrants than another. Now, the goal ultimately is balance, but we're not always going to spend so much time in all the quadrants equally. We're going to see time kind of in the different spaces. But the main kind of takeaway here is that all 4 quadrants are essential. You cannot skip one or not tend to one. You're going to feel you're going to be out of balance and you're going to feel it, okay? So I like to use the medicine wheel and the 4 quadrants here to assess where we're at. This is where the paper comes in, y'all. So for those of you who don't have a paper, take one out. It could be behind one of your pamphlets or something like that. We're just going to do a quick little drawing here. So I want you to draw a circle on your paper. And then go ahead and put the 4 quadrants. Okay? I'm gonna give you 3 minutes. Not a ton of time, but it's enough time to get a good sense of what you're doing well in. Okay? So you're gonna write 3 to 5 actions, activities, relationships, things that you do that support your wellness. Okay? And in each quadrant, you're gonna write a few of those things in that quadrant. What are you doing well in this quadrant? What is working? Don't worry about how, if you're like, oh, I'm not filling this section in. Go where it feels easiest. Just start filling it in where it feels easiest. 3 to 5. I also want to mention that there are many things that can fit into more than one quadrant, so you don't have to feel like you have to box it in. It can go into many. So for me, running serves a spiritual, my spiritual quadrant, my physical, and my mental, and sometimes even emotional. So if you have something that goes into all 4, totally cool, not a problem. Okay, 3 to 5 things in each one of those quadrants. Okay. So go ahead and continue writing in anything that's there. You might find yourself adding as we continue with this discussion. So I have folks here with microphones I want to hear, and I want you to also see this offering as you sharing as a way of redistribution, because you sharing what is working for you is also giving other folks in the audience the opportunity to hear what are some like wellness things that maybe they can implement as well, okay? So what stood out to you as you completed this activity? What did you notice? Maybe what quadrant felt most natural or easiest to fill in? What things that you might even start thinking, oh, I realize I haven't done this in a while, right? We have someone over here. Oh, yes, go ahead. Okay. Yeah, and then we'll, Bridget, she was next. So as far as the connection, I did really well with it. I think immediately, but my job at the time, at that time out of the secondary, so the physical aspect of it is almost like this mix of like output and things like that. So I noticed that a lot. Thank you for sharing. We had someone over here. Okay. So there was for me a lot of it like still taking care of the things that I needed to in a position, and also like taking care of school, just everything that I have on it. I have just making sure that everything's balanced. And the most thing that I wrote first was taking time to do yoga, lifting, like exercise for me is something that is very healing. Having yoga is something else. Thank you. And we have one more over here. I love that. Yeah, they're great solutions and great things that you're doing. So everyone put something in their 4 quadrants, right? At least one thing. So you are doing something well, and most likely many things well, okay? So let's lean on that to support the areas that need more support. So what you also might have noticed is a quadrant or 2. It's like, ooh, I'm not really spending too much time there. What are you doing well in that can also contribute to the quadrant that might need more support? Okay, so this is a strength-based approach of looking and assessing our own needs and what we're either doing well in and what we can work on. Okay, so now you have a tool. You have a tool to use that you can, I would honestly recommend, if you're in that moment of like, I don't know what's going on, I'm just for me, it's like, I don't know what's going on. I have a headache yesterday. And then I'm like looking and I'm like writing it down. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been traveling. I haven't had a lot of rest. All the spaciousness that I put into my life was a little bit not existent in the last week because I was with family. And that was okay. That's not the norm. I have more of a scheduled, that is more supportive for me in that way. But also what was really beautiful is that I was in community, right? And I love that. So you know what? I'll take the little bit of a headache that I had yesterday. What did I do? Instead of coming straight to the conference, I took a nap. I listened to what my body needed. I drank a lot more water, those types of things, right? So it's not, we don't need to be hard on ourselves that I'm not doing all the things. No, you are doing things well, and this particular activity can be really helpful for you to also just check in and do a quick assessment. For folks who are clinicians in wellness, this is also something you can use with your clients very easily. It will help to see actually what's the area we really need to focus on. Oftentimes, we have the presenting issue, and actually what's under there is something a lot more deeper, and this can be a quick and effective way to recognize that. Okay, so we talked about the ways in which wellness impacts our work environment, right? Or when we're in the workplace. So what are ways for us to counter that? What is the antidote to that, right? And that is one, centering culture and connection in the workplace. And it's not just we're a Native organization, therefore that's all we got to say and do. It is how we are also showing up. It is how we are grounding ourselves. It's bringing in the medicines that we have knowledge and access to in an intentional way, okay? So connection and connection to culture. We have so many gifts to bring in, and I don't see it often enough being used. I see it usually something that is, well, I'll do that later, or I'll do that on the weekend, or I'll do that when I go to visit with my family, go to ceremony, whatever that might be, it should be included in. Normalize conversations around mental health. So again, not just for the folks that we serve, but ourselves. Talking about, yeah, I just seen my therapist, or I'm gonna go see a therapist, or who's your therapist, or if you have a mental health diagnosis, being more open to share that. I'm very open with my team. I had struggled with postpartum anxiety and depression for a while. I also, I have ADHD, so I share about how one, honestly, the superpower that I have with ADHD, because I get to do, my brain can do some really awesome stuff, and also the challenges that come with that, right? So what are some of the things that I share with my team on, okay, even how we settle in, and that allows me to be a better, more effective leader, because there's other folks, of course, who have different needs, right? So I'm transparent. That's just how I lead, and I do say having normalized conversations is really helpful so that folks aren't feeling alone. Support work-life, the work-life integration. So what this can look like is, when possible, integrate your families, integrate your loved ones into the work that you're doing. Many of the times it is that way, but sometimes it's not. It gets very separated, and that can create disconnection also from our families. They're kind of, sometimes, I don't know if for you all, well, what do you even do? Right? Your relatives are like, what do you do? Well, they know you do some important stuff, but they don't really know. Bring them more into the work that you do. It's really important. It's going to be helpful for you and for them when they're involved. Promote movement and embodied wellness. So this can be if you're, part of your day, it's not part of your break. It is actually part of your work day that you get up, you walk around, you do a little exercise, you do some yoga, you go water the plants. So whatever it might be, is that it's not something that you hold off for the break or something you had to earn. It's part of your work that you are taking care of yourself. So for folks who are leading teams, this needs to be part of the meetings. This needs to be part of how we're showing up and supporting our team. Building sustainable systems and not just events. What this means is that there is not just a one-time, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, let's have a one-time event for the staff, or it's a wellness event for the staff. No, this is, how is it integrated on a regular basis? How are your check-in questions at your meetings? How are the checkout questions at your meetings? What are the activities that you're doing in the spaces that you are leading with your teams? And that it's not something that is just we wait till till that time, or it's not like, okay, take you're going to go on vacation, great, now you finally get a break. How do we actually create the environment in our work environment that is that feels good, right? So it's not just an event or a one-time thing, it is how we're building it into our policies and to our procedures. And what I know to be true, because I work with a lot of executive leaders and I'm a CEO myself, oftentimes this here has to do with how we are prioritizing. It's not that like, well, we can't do it. No, no, no. It's about prioritizing it. And oftentimes it gets left to the back burner. So if you're in a new strategic planning era, make sure that this is included. Okay, if you are thinking about 2026 is just around the horizon, or like a new funding cycle, whatever it might be, or even in your next meeting, how can I do it a little bit differently, right? Where I can integrate and it's not something that's set off to the side, because then we end up with the other issues that I was talking about at the top around how burnout, stress, and all of that exist. So how we show up matters, but how do we show up also is a lot to do with how we are doing individually. Because if we're stressed out leaders, we're going to have a stressed out team. Okay? So the key takeaway here is wellness support is not extra. It's a leadership responsibility. When staff are well, organizations thrive, tribes thrive, communities are uplifted. Okay, but it really does start with us in the room here, and how we're showing up for ourselves makes a huge difference. It makes a difference for the workforce that we are supporting. It also makes a difference for our family members and communities who are looking up to us as the leaders. If we're not taking care of ourselves, they pay attention and they're going to do this very same of not taking care of themselves. So be a good example. Okay. How are you and your workforce currently supported in mental health and wellness? So this is an open discussion time. I want to hear about what are some ways in which your current work environment is supporting mental health and wellness. What are some things that you're already implementing? I'm not going to assume that people are not doing all the things. I'm sure there's folks that are doing a lot of amazing things, and we want to hear about it. And also, what are some gaps? What do you see like might be needed, maybe personally or just holistically? What you notice maybe support can be added into your organization. So we have mics, and I would love to hear from folks, and also just thoughts around what I've shared so far. Any thoughts, questions, and comments as well. So how are you and your current workforce being supported in your mental health and wellness? Don't be shy. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I have, I have a question for you too, which is I'm so glad that you're doing it differently than how you experienced it. And my question is, or more of a comment, I think is, and maybe a lot of folks can resonate with this, is that we probably all been in a work environment that was not healthy, right? And then we have a choice to either replicate that unhealthy kind of work dynamic in other settings, or we can change it and do it differently, right? And so that's what I hear that you're doing. You're like, I had an environment that it was not sustainable, that was not supportive, and I want to do it differently, right? So and you made a choice to do that. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. How do we make work more fun? Yes. Work should be fun. Yes.
Thank you, Monique. This is fantastic. Robert Gore, mine is more of a generational dynamics question. I come from an old school mindset where common sense is not necessarily common value, especially when we deal with younger people, trying to understand how they see the world, how I see the world. It's always a challenge, right? How you communicate with them. So we all have our COVID stories, but the one that sticks out to me being in pro sports entertainment was Simone Biles. Right? She had to take a break. And where I come from, sports is life, like many of us in the country, basketball and football and everything. You let your team down was my first thought. And I wondered, because my leadership style came from the hard nosed, trust but verify. And the first time I ever heard one of my younger staff members ask, "Can I have a mental health day?" I thought through it. Like, you're out of your mind, right? We had a job to do. So how do you find that balance when you're dealing with different generations, that gap of understanding? How do you really know for me, I struggle with really want to take that day off, and then am I creating a system where when you face stress, because every job has stress.
Absolutely.
Every job has an amount where we challenge you as leaders because we're trying to make you grow. And then be respecting the fact that you are using a mental health day as recharge versus me thinking, maybe you're not recharging, you're just afraid to take on the hill.
Possibly, which is also a conversation to have, right? So there's a few things that came up as you were sharing that. One is, yes, there's generational differences, and even like work ethic and expectations might be different from generation to generation. I remember I started working very young, and so for me, it's just like work hard, and you're gonna, just keep going, you know, and that's not necessarily the case with some of our younger generation. It's a little different. So we do need to make adjustments because guess what? They're still our workforce. We're also their mentors. And they're also mentoring us in a lot of ways, right? We have to be able to be flexible and fluid as we're supporting continuous folks through the different work areas. Now, the question, or not the question, but when someone says, I want a mental health day, to me, that sounds like I'm burned out. So there was something earlier on that they might have not communicated, they might have not felt supported or mentored around. So to me, that says I'm burned out, and as a leader, I think it's an opportunity to be reflective of, okay, well, what can I do to help prevent this from the future? So no, we don't necessarily want our teams to go on constant mental health days, but then that gives us an opportunity to look and reflect, like, well, why did they need that? And have that conversation. Usually, this is, again, it's like the last resort. Most people are not wanting to like say that. It's probably even scary to say it, but it's like, I'm tired, right? So I think it's important to normalize that is to actually to say, yeah, if you need that, but how do we prevent that? So take the day And then let's go back to the drawing board and say, well, where did it start feeling overwhelming for you? As you mentioned, maybe they are feeling overwhelmed and now we're avoiding. Well, that's an area of growth, right? In their leadership, in their work. If there's some avoidance there. Now to go back into maybe it's some extra training, extra mentorship that they're going to be needing in that. So I think that's also maybe what in the past, what would we do if we're just burned out? We wouldn't say we're mental health days. I'm just sick, right? I'm out. I'm sick. My kid is sick. I mean, how many of us say our kid is sick and when they're not sick, we're tired and we're trying to take the day off, right? So if someone is sharing with you mental health, they're actually being more transparent. I think that's a beautiful thing, right? Versus having to lie and say it's something else. Because I know I've done that in the past. So I think it's a good thing if they feel comfortable to say I need a mental health day, but I also think it's data to help us then say, well, what can we do to help prevent this? Do you need more breaks? Do you need more support, along the way so that you're able to continue to sustain the work? I like to give, and I'm actually going to share a little bit about my framework with my team and how we sustain, and the model that we use that I also work with other organizations on developing. So we'll get to that in a moment. Any other ways in which folks are, we have a comment over here? I kind of wanted to speak to what you said. My mom was one of those people that doesn't matter what, there was no time to be vulnerable or say, you know what, I need help. And to come and be that vulnerable and transparent and say, I need help, and then to validate, come on, you need to. When I have to even say, I need help, it is like I let myself down. So when you're not supported in that, and you're not supported outside of that, I feel embarrassed. Yeah. Never mention that again. Say it because of that. But taking care of that in yourself, it takes strength to say something. It takes strength to stand up for yourself. When you're presented with that, it's asking for that. Believe what they're saying. It's not something, and somebody yes, of course we've got people that don't want everything. Yeah, we got that too. There definitely are people like that, but not everyone. Not everyone can just give it the same kind of, like you said, blanket of that. And I just felt like, because I felt myself there, even in my own family. I watched my grandson, there's days when I'm like, I need help. And I just need a minute, but being able to be vulnerable. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so much there. I was it on Monday. I had a meeting with Bridget. We meet every other week on Monday, and I, shared with you all earlier. I was traveling and I was tired. I was really tired, and I was just not able to say anything. Like I was not able to bring out the words, and I just text her. I'm like, hey, we're gonna push our meeting back. Like I'm just not feeling well. And I do that as a leader, and I encourage them to do the same. Like we always get our work done. Like my team is incredible, and we always get it done, and I trust that. And that's a lot about it too. Is like I trust that we have an incredible team, and that goes to the leadership. How we're setting up our workforce, our leaders to, we're not worried about, we're not in this scarcity mode, right? So we have to train ourselves up and them up to be able to be supported. And then when they need it, they're feeling safe enough to ask for those time off. I think that's actually, when they're able to do that, it speaks a lot of volumes. And yes, sometimes we have folks that are in the workforce that are not in alignment. Maybe this is not the place for them, and that's okay. But when they are and they're saying, hey, I'm just needing some time off, then, you go and you believe them. Bridget actually on the drive up here, she's like, hey, I'm thinking in the end of September, I'm gonna need a week off. I've been feeling pretty burned out. I'm like, yeah, no problem. She gets her work done, and she can come back and get her work done too. Like I trust her, right? So I'm not like worried about that week that she's off. I actually am like, she's gonna be so much better for it. Take off the time, okay? So I'm gonna share a bit about our framework, and we'll have some opportunity for more questions. So the way that we have our framework at Indigenous Circle of Wellness is that we use the 4 quadrants, and on the micro healing and wellness, this is our therapy services. This is what we provide. This is our direct services to the community that we offer, and there's various entry points into receiving therapy services with us. We also do more macro healing and wellness, like today, doing workshops, doing presentations, doing retreats, those types of things. We do that for different organization tribes and so forth in organizations. We also do partnerships and contracts, so that way we are filling in the needs of an organization or tribe that might need any of these services. So we partner with folks. So folks don't have to do all the things. A lot of the times we think we have to do all the things. No, we have folks in the community that have specializations, and we just need to plug them in, okay? And we do that. We have different community organizations that we partner with, that I'm sure you all partner with as well, to kind of offset those areas of need. So we don't do all the things, but these are the main things that we do. This is our focus. This is where we are experts, right? And we stay in our lane, and we do a really good job at it. The other thing is here, this is what I feel is really important and kind of ties into our conversation today, is that my team, our work, who we are as a team, is included in this model. We're not on the outside of it. We're not somewhere else, it's in here. It's part of how we function. So part of my team's plan for the years, how are we taking care of the team? How are we taking care of each other? What are the benefits that we're offering? What are the time off that we have? What is the schedules that we're offering? What makes sense for what we do, right? So we do this collectively. And does it work for everyone? No, it doesn't mean that I have like the perfect staff, and I've never had folks that weren't aligned. No, of course there's folks that have joined our team that probably didn't work for them. Maybe they need more structure. We actually have a pretty fluid way of working. So, but it's part of how it's developed. So often this section is taken out and kind of an afterthought, and we see it. We see it in our teams, we see it in our organizations, in our programming, okay? So I want you to just kind of see this as a possibility for yourself, for your organization, for your departments, whatever it is that you're doing, of how are you, because you're part of the team, included in the framework, okay? So some of the services that we offer, as I mentioned, is psychotherapy services. We also do wellness coaching. Wellness coaching is something that we offer nationwide. Psychotherapy currently is only in California. We do virtual services as well as in person at the 4 locations that we have in Southern California. As I mentioned, we are expanding. We have personal and professional development trainings, wellness and talking circles, mental health consulting. So for folks who do have a mental health program or are looking into a mental health program but not sure how to like build it out, we do that as well. We do program development, and then of course different speaking engagements. Some of the workshops, the top ones I would say that we typically get asked to do are when folks are sharing with us like their pain points. The main one that we do, you got a little bit of a taste of it today, which was the Indigenous approach to mental wellness. This one was adapted for this audience, so it didn't go into like the really hands-on, like usually we're in a circle kind of setting, less people, more engagement. But we have this workshop, and then we have these other 2 that are kind of the main ones that folks initially start with. And it helps really to open up the conversation around mental health and wellness, and also how does trauma show up, and how do we what supports can be implemented in like the workplace, because honestly, all of us have experienced some level of trauma, some type of stress response, and it will continue to show up if we are not doing the healing on it and the maintenance of the wellness. So Why these are essential is because sometimes we don't know where to start to have the conversation. I hear from a lot of leaders, well, if I start having the conversation now, I feel like responsible for everyone's mental health, and I don't want to be the boss that's not everyone's therapist. That is not what I'm asking you to do. You do not need to take that role on, but what I would say and encourage you to do is to at least start the conversation so folks know where to go, what to access. To normalize some of these conversations, because if we're spending so much time in our work environments and not talking about it, where else are we going to be able to do that, right? So just think about that a bit. So the integration is really important for our wellness, our sustainability as the workforce, as the leaders that are leading health and wellness in this country, and especially for Indian country. We need to take care of ourselves. So that is the end of my presentation. And I really just, we still have some time, so I want to open it up to any questions, discussion, anything at all. It could be something that I covered or did not cover in the presentation that you might have curiosity around in the work that I'm doing. But I'm open for any questions, and we have the mics, so just raise your hand and we'll get that over to you. Yes. Bridget, do you actually want to answer that question? You mean I can answer it, but she's our lead on that. Oh, go ahead. She could use it there. I'm gonna swap with you.
So a couple of ways that we engage our staff into creating like wellness in the workplace. First, our team meetings, we ask intentional questions. Like the check-in questions are, "How are you doing today?" Because everybody can be like, "I'm good," right? So we also try to incorporate the aspect of asking intentional questions. So, what's a peak? What's a valley today? What is one thing that you're striving to achieve this week? What, how have you incorporated the training that you attended last week? So it's like very much grasping at the things that we're doing, but also checking in personally with your staff. For other activities such as retreats, we bring in other consultants that can either speak to other areas in our work. An idea that I just gave Monique earlier today was like, for our retreat next year, I'm like, I really want to do something around plant medicine, and we can do it early on in the spring. So when our staff like walks away from there, not only are they learning how to take care of like these medicinal plants that they can now incorporate into their lives, but now it's going to flourish as well because it's within the season.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
little things like
Other things that we've done like in our meetings. Our meetings are not like a bunch of data and updates like that can be in an email. So what we do is all about connection. So the intentionality of how the questions at the beginning of a session, we do start off with prayer. We also, we have every other meeting is an activity. So we've gone hiking together. We've done gone to the park together. We've done picnics. We've done beading together. We done painting. We've done so many different things. And so when we build out our entire year of our meetings, we have it on ideally the same time every month. And then we kind of build it out for that season. Like if it's a springtime, it's a really beautiful time in LA to like be outside, like we do things outside. Right. So this last meeting was really hot in Riverside at one of our offices. So we did yoga inside. We had and we use our team too. Like all of our team is so incredible. So we have, she's a yoga, trauma-informed yoga instructor. So she led that engagement together. Another one of our practitioners also does healing, energy healing work. So she like led us through some energy healing and release work, right? So it's us also recognizing the gifts that our team brings and bringing that into the space. And yes, we do hire folks externally as well to support that. But we always, I'm sure we got beaters in the group. Like, let's do, while we're having our meeting, let's do some beating together. Let's share that knowledge and medicine together, how it's integrated. So that's some ways that we do that. Sometimes it's like 15 minutes. Sometimes it's like the entire 2 hours of the meeting time. And in that, we do have conversation around what are some of the, our goals for this year? How are we meeting those goals, right? We have those conversations as well, but it's not like, it doesn't feel so, it feels like wellness while you're having the meeting. So those are some ways that we've done that. And we have like a list of different ways that we can share that. Hope I answered that question, or we answered that question. Any other questions back here? Okay, it's gonna take me a while to get back there in these hills. Give me a second, here you go.
All right, my question is, I was at a conference, and actually a lady who in our breakout session, she was a PhD level person, and she was talking about how she was in therapy for like 30 years. So I thought logically anyway, asked the question, how are you still in therapy? Right, because she seemed to be very enthusiastic about the comment she made about being in therapy, and so my mind just went to, well, did you get better? Are you getting better? Does it get well? Does it end, or you just continue on for your whole life?
Yeah.
In therapy.
I say your whole life. I'm gonna tell you what. So if you were here at the beginning, I shared about healing and then wellness, right? Healing is the process of healing, getting to the place of being healed. Wellness is the sustainability of that, right? So therapy, as in many other practices, is part also of how we sustain. So she probably is healed, but she's also sustaining that by continuing to be in therapy, right? To having that person that she can talk to maybe, if something comes back up. The thing is about healing, and we talked about it as like the example of the cut on the arm. Think of a scar that you have on your body. Everyone has at least one scar, right? You always remember that scar and how you got it, right? And sometimes that scar has different emotions tied to it, different experiences of how that happened, and different parts of our life might bring back up something from that scar. The scar is healed. It's healed. But the wellness part to sustain it still needs to be there. So when we think about folks being in therapy for a very long period of time, yeah, that sounds about right. And I will say I have a therapist and I've changed them over time. Because now I am, someone doing all this stuff in Indian country, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, I need someone to talk to about some of these like stress that I'm having around traveling, right? Like these are different stressors. It doesn't always have to be like really, it doesn't have to be the deep healing. It can be the sustainable wellness. And I think that's the part where we sometimes forget, is that we have to continue to sustain it, right? So yeah, like recovery. Exactly. You do the healing and recovery, and you got to continue to sustain it. And you get better at it. And you so that's a great point, though. And thank you for asking that. There you
go. Excuse me, just wanted to comment. I'm a substance abuse counselor, and my father was a medicine man, and he always told me, you better be careful. Kind of work you do carries a lot of negative energy, and said you need to take care of yourself. And he kind of explained it like, it's like secondhand smoke. And so traditionally, I like the work I do, and being mindful of that. My father's comment always used like sweat lodge, or smudging, mountain smoke, and stuff like that. Protection prayers, to help them stay sane, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
In this kind of work.
Yep. So important. Oh my goodness. So you bring on a really great point, which is that how, like, the work that we do, it's going to have an effect on us in different ways, and so we have to be extra mindful and extra intentional about how we're taking care of ourselves. And the thing about our communities, and I imagine you're also Navajo. You mentioned the medicine, so we have different ceremonies, and we go back to these prayers and to ceremonies, and we use the different medicines to help support us, right? Now, that medicine that we have is for the continued sustainability. It's to help make sure that we are able to show up in the community and to do the work that we do. And I want you also to think about so some folks have access to medicine men. Some folks have access to medicine. Some of us do not, right? I live in LA. I don't have a lot of access, so I grow my own medicine in my yard. Before you all leave, please feel free to grab some sage that I grew in my own yard. But when you live in an urban setting, I don't have access to medicine men the same way that some folks might have if they're closer to home on the res, right? So with that, I had to find other ways of wellness. And that for me is then being in a relationship with my provider, my therapist, right? The person I talk to and share things with. So, for other folks, it's like we are the folks who are doing the work of continuing to hold those spaces. So we need to take care of ourselves, and also we need to access whatever resources that we might have availability to do. So yeah, I just thank you for sharing that, because the lesson that was shared to you is that we need to make sure that we're continuing to sustain. And if we ignore it, we're gonna feel it. It's gonna be felt in our body. We're gonna feel it in our mind. So the wellness that we have, it needs to be sustained. Any other questions? Over here.
Just as like Native people and our Native peoples and our sense of humor, keeping humor in our workplace and throughout our lives, and laughter being part of our medicine as well. And even during times of ceremony where we're struggling through something, and our ceremony leaders will crack jokes, along the way to keep morale up with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Just if you had any thoughts on humor present and wellness not being such a serious topic all the time.
Yes. And I love that at tonight's gala, there's going to be like a comedian, and he was talking about like the laughing and medicine of like laughter. Yes, that is one of our biggest and most like supports is the laughter, and there's like neuroscience behind it, right? And like what that does to our brains when we're laughing, and being able to connect in that way. So yes, it shouldn't always be serious. Like literally, like one of the ways in which I also like to disconnect from maybe some things that are really hard in the day, comedies. I go on Netflix and find like some comedy shows. I've gone to like comedy shows, or just anything that I can like look to have a good laugh. But yeah, laughter is super important. It does not, when we think of wellness, we have to think about, again, the quadrants. I didn't tell you what to put in those quadrants. You decide what's in those quadrants. You decide what is your medicine, right? If it's laughter, make sure it's part of one of the areas of your quadrants. If it's rest, because you're like, I need to get more sleep, I'm not getting the sleep I need, then make sure it's added in there, right? So you get to decide, but there's so many blessings and things that we have. We just need to continue to make sure that we're accessing it and prioritizing it. Okay, so thank you for your questions. We are going to go ahead and wrap up here, but please stay connected. I do have medicine up here, some white sage from California from my garden. It is good medicine that I tend to, so know you're safe with it. And we have some stickers up here and some pamphlets, and also our email list, so please stay connected. Have a wonderful rest of your day and conference.